Every day when I wake up, I think to myself, I vow to remain happy today. But if I tried to enforce this attitude among all of my members and all of you present here today, what would happen? This is exactly what the CEO of Gravity Payments have forgotten. He has a certain idea about happiness and he makes sure that everybody would feel the same way about it. But is his minimum wage really turning a page? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are consultants from the University of Colombo. I'm Niroshi, Ruini, Madhumali, and Gehanya. The presentation structure will be as follows. After my brief introduction, Ruini will take over to analyze the key issues. Thereafter, Gehanya and Madhumali will talk about our alternatives and our recommendations, and Ruini and I will take over again to discuss our implications of the recommended strategies. The CEO of Gravity Payments assumed that a flat rate of 70,000 US dollars would make everyone in his company happy. However, he realized later on that certain senior managers were not actually happy and a few left too. Thereafter, he realized the lower level employees were actually quite happy with it. However, there was certain resistance from a few lower level employees as well, as they thought, do I really deserve what I'm getting? Thereafter, now Gravity Payments faces certain issues. So you've asked us today, how will Gravity Payments ensure the motivation and productivity of their employees and ensure the future of Gravity Payments as well? So our recommended strategy includes 3 sections: empower, expand, and enrich. With this 3E strategy, we hope to conquer the issue that is given to us. Now, Ruini will take over in analyzing the key issues.
The key issue that has been posed to us is how to motivate and improve the well-being of employees while enhancing the future of Gravity Payments. This key issue has been divided into 3 separate key issues and has been prioritized according to their urgency and impact. As you can see, employee motivation and expansion have been prioritized as high impact and high urgency, whereas customer retention has been given a high impact and low urgency score. The first key issue, denoted by K1, is employee motivation and loyalty. While many of the lower level employees in Gravity Payments very much appreciated this wage raise, this sentiment was not shared by all the senior managers in Gravity Payments as well. The senior managers watched many of the lower level employees at times receive double their wage in their increase, whereas the senior managers would not receive any pay increases at all. The fact that the motivation and satisfaction that arose from this wage increase was not shared by every employee in this company is a big issue, especially since the senior managers shoulder big responsibilities in the company. Their motivation is of severe importance and very big importance for the future success of the company as well, especially since the CEO, Price, has now become too busy to come to work regularly, and he has given his responsibilities to the senior managers, so therefore they now face increased responsibilities, whereas they still have the same level of pay. This issue has been prioritized as high impact and because if this situation were to continue, some senior managers may very well leave Gravity Payments, and this would have a severe impact on the profits of Gravity Payments in the future. Furthermore, it has been prioritized as high risk and high urgency because it is a current situation which they are facing at the moment. The next key issue is expansion. Due to this wage increase, it caused many stirs in the industry and had received much publicity. Due to this increase in publicity, Gravity Payments experienced an influx of customers. And through this influx of customers, they now find the need to expand their business. and as a result, they now need to find external sources of financing because due to the wage increases that they have given their employees, they have now low cash reserves, and therefore they need to look into external sources of financing in order to expand their business due to the increase in customers. And the third key issue, denoted by K3, is customer retention. As I mentioned previously, the increase in publicity has given them a large number of new customers. However, it is questionable whether these new customers will always always stay loyal to Gravity Payments in the future. Therefore, there is a necessity for Gravity Payments to undertake some sort of actions to ensure the retention of these customers in the future as well, for the sake of the sustainability of their revenues in the future. Now, Madhu Mali and Kehania will talk to us about the various alternative strategies that can be recommended in order for Gravity Payments to overcome these key issues.
So the first key issue that we need to address is how to improve employee motivation and loyalty. So for this issue, we have developed a few alternatives available. The first alternative, developed by A1, is reducing the minimum wage level. We are looking at an alternative where we are trying to reduce the $70,000 minimum wage. We are saying the company should go ahead and reduce this amount that was recommended. The second alternative is increasing the wages of the senior management. Now, the senior management is somewhat unhappy with the minimum wage level scheme. So we are saying increase the wage level of the senior management, leaving the 70,000 minimum wage level for the lower level employees. The third alternatives that we are looking at is introducing a flat rate and a performance-based system. So what we are saying here is leave the 70,000 minimum wage as it is, but divide it into a flat rate and a performance-based rate. So $40,000 would be a flat rate which they would get, and the remaining would be based on their performance. Now, looking at the advantages and the disadvantages, the first alternative, reducing the minimum wage level. Now, this scheme has already gained a lot of attention, a lot of publicity, and it has a lot of positives. So therefore, it's not really practical to go ahead with this particular alternative. The second alternative, increasing the wages of the senior management. The company is already facing an issue with increasing costs because of the wages. So therefore, we again say that it's not practical to go ahead with that alternative as well. So therefore, based on these advantages and disadvantages, we are suggesting that the company should look at the third alternative, a flat rate and a performance-based system. Now, let's look at the suitability, acceptability and feasibility of this particular recommendation.
Now, the alternative we have come up with is a flat-based and performance-based system. So, the suitability, acceptability and the feasibility of this alternative for the key issue is denoted in the slide above. The suitability is that the senior management is being demotivated at the moment. Therefore, when there is a flat rate and a performance-based system, it will motivate the senior management. How? Because the senior management will be given a stock option, whereas the lower level employees will have a flat rate and a performance-based system to reach the minimum wage level of 70,000. And then also there will be reduced employee turnover because there would be motivation in order for the employee to retain with the company. The acceptability will definitely be with the senior management and the CEO, who are currently dealing with this problem of the minimum wage level being a cost to the company with low performance. And the feasibility is that there is an existing benchmark of $70,000. Therefore, that is still being used as a benchmark but in a modified manner. And also there will be reduced friction between the employees and the management in dealing and coping up with this wage level problem.
So the next key issue that we are going to address is how to expand or raise funds in the future. So again, there are a few alternatives. The first alternative is approaching a venture capitalist. Now, a venture capitalist would give us cash in return for shares. The second alternative is going into offshoring operations. Now, with offshoring operations, we will be able to give out or outsource a certain few operations, but this would incur a few job losses. And then the third alternative, obtaining bank loans. Currently, the cost of the company is increasing, so obtaining a bank loan to pay back the bank loans and the interests would again increase the cost of the company. The fourth alternative is integration with a fintech firm. We are saying the company should go ahead and innovate using fintech firms. So they will be getting a competitive advantage through the use of fintech firms. So again, looking at these advantages and disadvantages, we believe the company should go ahead with the fourth alternative to integrate with the fintech firm in order to sustain in the future and to be able to gain funds in the future for their growth.
Now let us look at the suitability, feasibility, acceptability of this framework. The key issue that we addressed was company expansion. However, the alternative given is integration with a fintech firm. This solves the third key issue of customer retention as well, because the alternative will provide us with a solution of integration with a fintech firm for reliable, low cost and a no worry option for the customers. The suitability is that the trend in the market is that firms are reaching innovation. However, Gravity Payments at the moment is concentrating heavily on HR costs and ignoring the market trend. And acceptability is that customers would be happy with a reliable, low cost, no worry option, and also the shareholders will be happy to see Gravity Payments gaining a competitive advantage through innovation. The feasibility is Gravity Payments has a necessity to expand at the moment, and also there are fintech startups with which Gravity Payments could have an integration. Let's look at our strategy in detail now. As mentioned by Niroshi earlier, our strategy comes in three parts: empower, expand, and enrich. Empower is in terms of the employees of the customers. We look into four main aspects. First, a flat rate system and a performance-based system to achieve the benchmark of $70,000 for the employees. Second, a stock option for the senior management in order to motivate them to continue their activities and also to deal with the upcoming responsibilities in a better manner. Next will be for the new employees that are being recruited to deal with the new customers. There are so many employees being recruited. However, it's unfortunate that they are joining only for the $70,000 and their performance is low. So what we suggest is for these new employees, take them on contract basis. For the first 6 months, keep them probationary and then have a 5% leave cuts and look at their performance in those 6 months and then decide on how well they are performing and then decide whether to keep them going or not. And also during Empower, how we will look at our flat rate and the performance-based system is, in the performance-based system, we will look at KPIs for each and every department. For instance, for the sales and marketing department, there would be customer retainment and customer acquisition KPIs. So also in the Empower aspect, we look into non-financial motivation of our employees. First, being things like Employee of the Month, where there will have to be an HR team which looks into employee appraisal. And also team building activities to improve motivation and activities dealing together. And also collaborative decision making along with the senior management in order to motivate them. The next step of our strategy is expand. Expand is, as Gehanya mentioned, is integration with a fintech firm. Here we are hoping to gain a competitive advantage through innovation. because, as we saw before, that is the trend in the market. Through expansion, we will achieve enrich, which is to retain our customers in the long term through innovation. So the objective of our strategy is to motivate and improve the well-being of employees while enhancing the future of gravity payments. Now let's look at the action plan of our strategy.
So looking at the action plan, so first and foremost, we should be deciding on the KPIs that we are going to impose on all the departments of the company. So after that, it's important for us to form a performance review team. So we believe we should be appointing a performance review team from the HR department itself for them to assess the performance of the employees. Then we should be doing certain research on fintech firms for us to decide on which fintech firm we are going to integrate with. It's important for us to decide on the best fintech firm. So therefore, we will be having a temporary research term in order to conduct this research. So it's important again for us to conduct a marketing campaign because we will be innovating. We are moving into an innovation era through fintech firms. So therefore, it's important for us to do marketing. And also, it's important for us to ensure that this performance review system is being carried out properly. So therefore, we should be monitoring the process all throughout, starting from the fourth quarter itself. So as you can see, the timeline for this particular action plan is shown on the slide. And the resources that are required would be the employees and the fintech startups. And through this, the impact for the organization would be improve employee well-being and enhance company future.
Now Ruini and Niroshi will go through the implications.
Let's take a look at the financial implications of the recommended strategies. For the first recommended strategy of a flat rate and a performance-based system, we estimate a reduction in employee expenses by 30% from its present levels. This is due to the fact that through the current wage increase, 58% of the employees have received wage increases, whereas a staggering 25% of the employees have actually doubled their salaries. Therefore, through implementing this system where everyone does not simply receive that wage increase, they have to work for it, we can estimate a reduction by 30% annually on employee expenses. And furthermore, due to the need for employees to actually work for their 70,000 per year, we can give them more work and give them more responsibility, which would otherwise have to be given to the new recruits that Gravity Payments was currently recruiting. Therefore, we can reduce the number of recruits that is required by Gravity Payments and therefore reduce the hiring and recruitment expenses that Gravity Payments has to incur. And for the second strategy, which is integration with a fintech firm, this will provide Gravity Payments with an established competitive advantage. Through this, they will be able to not only retain the existing customers which they have gotten through the publicity of the wage cut, they will also be able to acquire new customers through being able to provide an innovative and differentiated service. Therefore, the overall impact of our strategies is an increase in profits in the future through the reduction in costs from our first strategy and the increase in our future revenues through the years from our second strategy. Now Niroshi will talk to us about the challenges that these strategies could face.
In implementing our first recommendation, it is important to identify that there will be definite employee resistance and difficulties in budgeting. However, it is important that we do the right communication in making them understand that it is important that a business sustains and that their productivity is rewarded and that they could stay motivated while working as well. Secondly, the fourth recommendation provided, integration with a fintech firm, is also likely to cause resistance to change. When two companies are working together, people show resistance to change. Therefore, it is important that team building activities, change management is carried out properly in identifying these risks. In conclusion, our strategy is empower, expand, and enrich. Through looking at these three main stakeholders and identifying separate ways of addressing them, we are sure that minimum wage will finally be able to turn a page. Thank you very much.
1 second to manage the logistics. 15 minutes for Q&A. The judges, you may start, please.
First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
But I want to clarify something with you because in the middle I probably got lost. My understanding is that you are going to reduce the minimum wage from 70 to 40.
Yes.
Then that 30K, which is depends on your performance, you need to reach to that 70K.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So to me, you basically change the term, which is 40K is the floor and the 70K is the ceiling.
Well, the reason we did that is because while Price had a very good moral reason for increasing the minimum wage for all of its employees, unfortunately, the result of that action was only to satisfy and motivate one stakeholder group. And it was not even all the employees, it was just the lower level employees, and any business cannot survive by only satisfying one stakeholder group. Therefore, we realized while his intentions were good, it was not the only way to motivate employees should not be purely through monetary means. We can still give them a means of achieving that 70K, we must also help them and realize that they have to work for it as well. It cannot be just given to them. Furthermore, we must also realize that employee motivation is not purely on monetary factors. There are also non-monetary factors which we have also addressed in our recommendations. So therefore, we believe that our recommendations will resolve the drawbacks of what Price initially suggested and would actually be more beneficial to the majority of the stakeholders of the company.
So my understanding is for the junior staff, your recommendation is reduce the salary base to the 40K and let them to reach to the ceiling 70K.
Yes.
But for the senior management, your minimum wage is 40K or 70K?
We are not
And plus the
looking.
bonus?
We are not looking at a minimum wage for them. Senior
Okay.
management will be given stock options instead, because
No salary.
no salary.
No salary.
No, there is
No,
a
there is a salary.
There is
There is a
In terms of
salary.
a performance-based change is not done to them.
Okay.
Yes.
Their
So they
salary-
will be continuing with the current.
The 70 or they don't? Or they get
No
40?
salary.
No, the
No.
senior managers at present, they receive far well above the minimum
Minimum
wage,
wage.
which is the reason that they are dissatisfied anyway. They anyway have above the minimum wage, and therefore they would not get any salary increases through Price's recommendation. So therefore, that's why we want to give them another means of motivation through these stock options.
So just so I understand, so there's a senior manager that will say getting 75 or 40.
Mhm.
All these young guys get 70. You're suggesting you keep them on the 75, you're reducing the minimum. So a highest performing young guy who's just joined the firm will get 40 plus 30, 70, but he will still get 75 plus stock options.
Yes,
Yes,
basically
that is
that's
what we are
mean.
recommending.
Yes.
Okay.
Because currently
fine.
both parties will be getting 70.
Or 170, 175.
Yeah, we want to have a more
Equity,
equity-based
yes.
approach.
And also senior management is getting more and more responsibilities. They are the core team because Price is engaged with other activities. So senior management needs some sort of motivation. That's why we recommend on giving them something
Stock
more than the salary, which is a stock option.
Okay.
And the reason we cannot take away the 70 at once, like we can't just tell them 40 is the minimum wage, nothing else, is because there is so much publicity that they have already received from that minimum wage of 70K. He cannot take that back immediately and directly. That's why we have to restructure this in a very diplomatic manner, such that it does not damage the reputation of the company by doing so.
For the mid-level management, what is your strategy? 40, 25, or because you talk about the junior staff and senior staff, but there was a bunch of management team, so what is your strategy for them? Was it presented in the, I don't
Not
know.
really.
No, it was not addressed in the presentation. But we would be, since for the junior staff we are saying 40,000, that would be the same level for the middle level management as well. and we will be going ahead with that strategy.
So
for
we
the-
will be looking at a performance-based system for mid-level management as well, within the relevant minimum wage levels. However, the stock
Stock
option
options.
will be limited to the senior management team.
That is what we discussed during our discussions, just that we didn't include that in the presentation.
Okay, I know we have a limited time, so. Right.
No, you still have time. You still
No,
have
it's a
time.
limited time for them to present in 20 minutes. They
Oh,
may
yes,
not have,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to delve into something a bit more. When you talked about the performance measurement for the sales team, and you mentioned KPIs, what specific KPIs would you have in that situation?
So we looked at for sales and marketing KPIs such as how many customers will they acquire within 3 months, and then how many of those customers will retain within an year. Depending on that, they will be recommended for employee of the month schemes, which are non-financial rewards, and also these will be used for the performance-based system of their salary scheme.
Okay, that's good.
Go ahead.
So first I want to say really well done. It's a really good presentation. So, but I did get a bit confused in a minute. So the second and third objectives were one was around dealing with this financial burden that's come on board because of the new customers and all the additional costs that are going out. And the third element was around customer retention. And then we said the solution was partner up with fintech. I didn't get how you went from 2 and 3 to that solution. Can you help me understand that?
Basically, what we thought was customers want a reliable, low-cost option, and they think that because they are doing their low-cost pricing strategy, that they will have to follow the same. But we thought through an innovation strategy, maybe we could get a competitive edge where they would remain loyal to us. So if we can partner up with a fintech company, we would also make sure that we are not a stale company, that we go forward and sustain our business, and also make sure that customers stay with us because we've provided them with a competitive edge.
So you're saying that the only way of getting innovation in the company is to become site?
Basically, since they're a credit card processing company, and credit cards are already a dying business compared to most fintechs, and there's a lot of trend in terms of fintech startups. So that's why we thought in terms of looking outside, exactly like looking at a trend, maybe they could retain their customers through obtaining that competitive advantage.
Innovation is the trend, so they need to have reached there in order to have their competitive advantage. That's why we thought expansion through integration with a fintech firm would allow them to expand as a business and also obtain customers and to retain them through innovation.
Because if they were going to innovate on their own, they don't really have the cash at the moment. So it's important to look into a better option out there.
Yeah, right. The innovation in the fintech is pretty hot topic right now, and it's good suggestion to use that. However, have you think about the cost of a fintech? It's pretty expensive to develop or implement a fintech.
Yes.
And
Well, what-
right now you all have financial burdens. You know, your capital is dropped, and you need to spend another thousands of millions monies in your fintech. So have you think about that?
Yes, we did think about it. So we've figured that for the integration with the fintech company, we would have a cash plus a stock exchange, and have that be the means of integration. So we'll also give a certain amount of cash as well as exchange of equities between the companies as a means of integration.
I like the way you presented it and you went through the story. Do you have any like real life example that you drew experience from that you could share with me that you came to these conclusions?
Not really.
Real life experiences, no.
No example of a company that you know that has been taken.
No, we basically got inspiration from the fact that equality and equity concepts are different, and we looked at these companies striving to manage equality when it is equity they should be looking at, and that is how we came up with the performance management system.
And also how banks are having such a hard time because of
Really?
the emergence of fintech firms, and how really innovation is a key to success in the current market.
Alright, so you do have a real life example.
Yes, so make sure that if they don't do it, someone else will do it.
So the other thing is,
We still have 5 minutes.
okay, so the other thing you talked about was looking at non-monetary ways of trying to get people engaged. absolutely the right way of looking at it. And you talk about employee of the month. Now, I think of employee of the month as going into McDonald's and seeing a poster or something. So, did you think of other ways of getting people feeling more accountable, giving recognition, or allowing people to make more, giving people more decision-making rights?
Yes.
Do you think of those sorts of ideas?
We did say collective decision-making power for the senior management especially.
Right.
That was our main focus, but then giving them a sense of belonging and a collective decision-making was basically our priority, what we said.
Yeah.
We mentioned
you
that.
focus on the middle management. You focus on the sort of more senior management rather than actually, because I was thinking out loud, and Elaine was going there. If you're going to change this whole model around, well, you're getting 70 one day, but now we're going to give you 40 and plus a bonus. You might want to think about how do you engage those guys, because there's a risk that they're all going to go, forget this, we joined for, we like the 70 grand, we want to go. How are you going to keep those guys motivated? Did you think about how, not just employee of the month type stuff, but more empowerment?
For the new employees who
the
joined
younger
because of the
ones.
$70,000, you
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, so that's why we said we will recruit them based on a probationary period, based on a contract. So to see actually would they be performing. During that month, we will keep them accountable. We will be doing, there needs to be close monitoring on those employees in order to ensure that the performance targets are met.
Okay. So what about the guys that have been there for 6 months, for example? They're already in their past probation. They're still relatively new. How are you going to deal with those guys? Their emotions when they're going
Well,
to go from
if
70 to
if these
40.
employees really did join just for making money, that would not be the sort of employee that would actually be value adding to the company in the long term as well. So therefore, it was actually, I mean, initially it is the fault of Gravity Payments for instilling that sort of motivation for new recruits anyway. So they would have to deal with that. So the fact that if they do want to leave, then we would have to let them go, because the key motivation for them was money, and they would not be excellent workers then either. So
just one follow-up. So I agree with you. I know you don't want those, but there are people who would have joined and then got the pay rise and then got a mortgage, bought a car. They're now in a situation where they can't afford to pay the mortgage. How are we going to manage those people? Do we have a moral responsibility?
Well, we haven't taken away the 70 completely. They still have a chance to work for it. So they can if they still had the 7, they can still make the 70K by working. So we are not taking that away from them completely. They can still
They
And
have to
also,
work
if they
for it,
don't
yeah.
work, they
The
will still
bank-
not get the
bank will take
70.
the mortgage away. The reality is the bank would. So I think through some of the moral implications as well, because the reality is you're going to have some people who can't afford the mortgage, who will probably could be on the street, because the bank would say, hey, you're now no longer earning 70 or earning 40 because that performance bonus is contingent. So anyway, so just something to think about.
If I was then Price and I noticed the strategy I implemented was wrong, I will go back to the old way. I know that a lot of people were thinking about the public image, but in order to keep that public image, and then you keep suffering the loss, you keep suffering other things that happened, and may not your strategy is not working. If that's the case, I go back to the older way. What do you think about, like, salary based on your experience, based on your performance, on the bonus, on the stock option? This is all what we have at this current. So if I go back, I completely tell the public, this is not working, we go back.
well, the thing is, he has already the level of publicity from this wage cut is not something that can be so easily taken back. He has gotten book deals. He has been on magazines from all over the world, interviews. He's so busy he can't come to work. So definitely we thought that it is not a feasible idea for him to take it back as easily as that. That would actually be the downfall of that company. for
And
sure.
also, employees of the organization will be really demotivated. Some sort of other activities will also not bring them back to the motivation, because they have been given that high hope level of 70,000. So they can't be just taken off with that
Completely
system and
changed.
completely revert to other system. So that's why we thought of a modification of the system rather than completely reverting back to the old system.
They still have a chance to get that 70,000 if they really work hard for it.
And we thought for a person who took others' happiness so seriously, could he really revert back to making everybody suddenly unhappy? So the only option was a middle path, and that's what we took.
Thank you very much.